What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, the movie critic that watches bad movies that you don't have to, and today we are talking about Send Help. Send Help is the newest film directed by Sam Raimi that is not a superhero film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is Sam Raimi at his roots horror, R-rated horror. The movie stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, two very phenomenal actors. And Sam Raimi is best known, obviously, for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy and then the Evil Dead movies, where he kind of got started in his horror, quirky elements, over-the-top gore, weird camera angle shots that were also there in the Tobey Maguire trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy, and somewhat in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness film. But Send Help is a Sam Raimi film where he gets to be Sam Raimi. This is very much his own directorial type of style. And with this premise of two people being stranded on a deserted island, and again, being a Sam Raimi film, I was pretty hyped for this movie. So, all that being said, without further ado, let's jump into the review.
Let's not forget, I'm your boss. You work for me.
We're not in the office anymore, Bradley.
So, for better and for worse, Send Help is a Sam Raimi film. The premise of the movie is Rachel McAdams' character, Linda, works at this big corporate business. She's been there for forever. She's a little bit quirky, doesn't have many friends, doesn't have a big social life. In this company, Dylan O'Brien's character, Bradley, just inherited the company from his father. He is the CEO, and he's coming in as this hotshot, massively inflated ego, huge head, wanting to completely change the company, get rid of people, and the first person on the chopping block to get rid of is Linda. So right there you have this premise of these two characters that cannot stand each other. That's established very early on, the first 10-20 minutes in the film, and then on this business retreat that they're going on, their private jet crashes, and Rachel McAdams, Linda, and Dylan O'Brien's Bradley are the only two survivors. Turns out that Linda is a very big fan of the show Survivor, so she immediately goes into survival mode on this island. She starts building shelter, hunting for food to keep herself and Bradley alive on this island. Bradley is injured in the plane crash. He cannot walk for a very long time in this movie, so he very much needs Linda's help for survival. So already on the island, this dynamic... The dynamic of Bradley being the CEO in charge of everything back in the real world is completely flipped, where he is now reliant on Linda in order to survive. So yes, it is a very silly premise, but it is very interesting solely because obviously I think being stranded on a deserted island is like an interesting premise for a film, but you also throw in the mix of that dynamic shift between the characters where now the ego-inflated person is now living off of the person that he was going to fire, and his life depends on that person. So while it is a survival type of film, it's also this breaking down of Dylan O'Brien's character, essentially knocking him down multiple pegs to not be this tech bro, inflated ego CEO of whatever billion-dollar corporation. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the Sam Raimi type of quirks are here in this movie. You do get Sam Raimi horror elements. You also get gore, where Linda is hunting multiple animals, especially one scene with this like hog where it's just like so incredibly over the top bloody. And then you also get those weird camera angles, close-up faces of, close-up shots of people's faces. And it just makes for a really intense viewing that keeps you locked in on where this story is going. A big positive here, there's no way to know halfway through this movie where the story is going to go. There are so many twists and turns as these layers are pulled back on Linda's character and Bradley's character, mostly more with Linda, where you realize she's not all that mentally stable, and as the movie goes on, you just learn more and more of how dark of a person and mentally unstable she actually is. With a premise like this of two people being deserted on an island and there's only just two actors leading a movie, you need to make sure your actors are more than capable of doing that. And thankfully, Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien play off of each other so well here, and they fully carry this movie, and they are up to the task of being the only two actors really for the majority of the film, and they take this premise and run with it, where you really feel like these people cannot stand each other, but they have to rely on each other in order to survive. However, where the story ends up going, I'm not going to get too into that here in spoilers, but in the back half of the film, the movie does start to feel a little long. Even at 2 hours, just a premise like this can't really hold that much time of just two people being deserted on an island. And also, unfortunately, the movie devolves into being rather silly off of a very silly premise. And it's a very much suspend your disbelief, turn your brain off type of movie for the premise to work, which is totally fine. But I think people just kind of need to know that going into the movie, that this is what the kind of movie it is. It is not taking itself seriously. Don't overthink it. It is a premise of two people being deserted on an island, and they have to rely on each other to live. There's more underneath the surface to each character, but really, in all honesty, that's all there is to this 2-hour movie. A quick pause right before we jump into the verdict. Let me know your thoughts on Send Help down below in the comments. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe, and also be sure to follow me on social media. Check out my TikTok and Instagram for shorter versions of reviews like this. So, wrapping this up with the verdict, while I was very hyped for this film and just wanted to see another Sam Raimi movie, I love Rachel McAdams, I love Dylan O'Brien, a silly premise is upheld by the two leading actors, but where the story goes is just rather unsatisfying, rather dull, and you'll really only enjoy this one if, again, you can kind of turn your brain off and enjoy a film like this. The Sam Raimi quirks are here for better and for worse. Some scenes are directed so well, setting up the tension, ramping up the type of dark humor. Other scenes just devolve into being really, really silly that just kind of take you out of the movie. So, all that being said, I'm gonna give Send Help a 5.5 out of 10, and on a see it, stream it, or skip it, stream it if you want to. There are my thoughts on Send Help. Let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my review. Are you a big Sam Raimi fan? Were you really looking forward to this movie? Thank you all so much for watching my review, and as always, I will see you guys on the next one.